Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Walter Beebe Center. I serve on the board as the property commissioner. My pronouns are he, him, and today I'm wearing a white shirt and jeans. Here are this week's announcements. We try to make our services as accessible as possible, with hearing helpers and large print versions of service materials available from our ushers. Our weekly newsletter is available on our website, and paper copies are at the entrances to the building. To receive an emailed copy each week, please speak to a greeter or an usher. Pastoral care is available to everyone, newcomers, members, and visitors alike. Please reach out for any assistance. If you'd like to join, sign up through our newsletter. This week's newsletter highlights several upcoming events and important future service dates to remember. Copies are available. Please pick one up to review. Thanks to everyone who's pledged so far. We're getting closer to our goal each week. If you haven't yet made your pledge, please use the online or paper form. For questions, reach out to Janet Riley or Dan DeHano. Join us today from 12 to 1 in the chapel for a sharing circle facilitated by our Director of Faith Formation, April Rosario. As we prepare to welcome a new minister, we recognize that change brings many emotions. This event is a space for reflection, listening, and sharing. All are welcome. Today is Stewardship Day. Join us at noon in Whitcomb Hall for routine building and grounds maintenance. Pizza and drinks will be provided, and all are welcome. Questions? Please see me or a member of the property committee during coffee hour. On Sunday, May 3rd, join us for our annual Spring Fling in Whitcomb Hall from 12 to 1 p.m. For questions, contact Pam Penton, Membership Commissioner. Do you have a poem to share for our May 24th lay-led poetry service? Submission requirements are in the newsletter, and the deadline is May 1st. For more info on that, see Marty Ahrens. Please save the date. The Waltham Community Blood Drive, sponsored by the Watch City Steampunk Festival, will be held on Saturday, May 9th, here. More details coming soon. Civics Trivia Night. Want to form a First Parish team for the event on Wednesday, May 13th? Teams of 8. Sign up now. Questions? See Sue Adams at coffee hour. Thank you to all who have contributed to coffee hour this week. Next week, we invite those with names from A through C to contribute. Sign up in the newsletter to help. This is the end of today's announcements. Please check that you've silenced your phone and other communication devices. And now, please turn around and wave to the lovely people who are joining us via Zoom. Our video camera is just to the right of the exit sign over the door.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to First Parish in Waltham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation celebrating a liberal tradition centered around love. No matter who you are or where you're from, no matter your race, faith, age, or sexual or gender orientation, you are welcome. Wherever you are on your journey of spiritual and personal exploration, you are welcome. My name is Scott Tugas. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man in my 60s wearing a blue and white striped shirt. I will be leading this service with the help of others from the worship committee. Our theme for the month of April is possibilities. Today we will be looking at the possibilities that arise when we don't accept the lie of sexism. The prelude that Emma just played was written by Clara Schumann. Back in the 19th century, she bucked the trend by being a touring concert pianist, a family breadwinner, and by writing her own music. She also had the gumption at age 12 to advocate for and play the works of a composer rejected by the music establishment named Frédéric Chopin. We hallow our shared time together this morning by kindling the flame of our Unitarian and Universalist legacies. May our chalice and its flame keep us mindful of the liberal traditions that we are called to nurture and carry forward. This morning, our chalice will be lit by Michael Carmody.
To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's tremors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May it glow, fill our hearts, fill our spirits, and our lives.
Our first hymn this morning is called Bright Morning Stars. It's not in any of the hymnals. It's an old traditional hymn that I'm taking an arrangement from that was done by Mike Myers. And the lyrics will appear on the screen, but I'm going to teach it to you first, line by line, and we'll try it slowly, and then we'll pick it up for a rousing rendition. So you can stay seated for now. I'll teach it to you, and then we'll stand up when it's time to really get going. So repeat after me for each line. Bright morning stars are rising, 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 bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul. Day is breaking in my soul. We'll try it slowly. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul. All right, everyone stand up or dance or sit and clap or whatever makes you feel good. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul. Rise up from morning slumber. 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 Day is breaking in my soul. Rise up and hear your calling. 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 Day is breaking in my soul. We'll sing out loud for justice. We'll sing out loud All right, please remain standing. Sorry, I don't have these words in front of me down there. We'll recite our covenant. The words will be on the screen, and it's in your order of service, beginning with the words love. All right. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
Oh, I'm stuck. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is April Rosario. I am a Black woman in my late 30s. I have shoulder-length dreadlocks, and I am so honored and blessed to serve as your director of faith formation. Now, I have a story that I want to share with you. It's one of my favorites. It's an ancient Jahaka tale from India. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And here's why. A few minutes ago, Scott laid out what we're exploring today. I picked this story for a very specific reason, but I want to see if you can figure it out as I tell it. So I'm going to tell you the story, and then before I give you the challenge, you're going to get a mini challenge. You're going to see if you can get into my brain and figure out why I picked this story. If you can, bonus points for you. If you can't, don't worry, I'll fill you in. No worries. Sound good? Perfect. And even though it probably didn't start this way, we're going to start it with my favorite way to start a story. And if you're new here, you will find out what that is in about 0.2 seconds. My favorite way to start a story is... Once upon a time. Once upon a time, a little parrot lived happily in a beautiful forest. One day, without any warning, lightning flashed, thunder crashed, and a dead tree burst into flames. Sparks went in every direction and were carried by the rising wind, beginning to leap from tree to tree, branch to branch, bush to bush, shrub to shrub, anything that could catch fire. In one of those trees sat a little parrot who quickly sounded the alarm. "Fire!" she cried. "Run to the river!" Flapping her wings, raising higher and higher, she flew toward the safety of the river's far shore. After all, she was a bird and she could fly away. But as she flew, she could see that many of the animals were already surrounded by the flames. They couldn't escape. Suddenly, a desperate, some might say crazy, idea came to her. She darted back down to the river, dipped herself into the water, soaking up as many drops as she could, and then she flew back over what was now a raging fire. Thick smoke was coiling up and up and up, filling the sky. Walls of flames shot up here and there. Pillars of fire leaped before her. Twisting and turning, she had to make a mad maze to get through the fire. But she flew bravely, drenched in water. And finally, having reached the heart of the burning forest, the little parrot began to shake herself. I invite you all to shake yourselves as if you have water on you. She shook her wings, she shook her tail feather, and little drops that clung to her began to fall like jewels down onto the flame, quickly vanishing with a hiss as they turned to steam. As soon as she had shaken every last drop from her, she flew back to the river, dove in again, dousing herself in cool water, and made her way back through the maze of flames to the heart of the burning forest, and again shook every last drop off. Back and forth she flew again and again and again, river, forest, river, forest, river, forest. Her feathers becoming charred, her feet and claws starting to get scorched. Her lungs ached and her eyes burned, and her mind began to spin a little. She was running out of steam, but she kept on flying back and forth, back and forth. The animals down below were watching. "Look at that foolish bird," they cried from the ground. "She's trying to put out a raging forest fire with a few sprinkles of water. How absurd," they laughed. But one of the gods, strangely moved, changed himself into a golden eagle, flew down toward the parrot's path. The little parrot was just nearing the flames again when the great eagle, with eyes of molten gold, appeared by her side. "Go back, little bird," he said. "Although your heart is mighty, your task is hopeless. A few drops of water could never put out a forest fire. Cease now and save yourself before it's too late." The little parrot said nothing. Instead, she continued to fly back and forth, river, forest, river, forest. She could hear the great eagle flying above her. He called, "Stop, foolish little parrot, save yourself." "I don't need some great shining eagle," coughed the parrot, "to tell me that. I know what will happen. I don't need your advice. I just need some help." Rising higher, the eagle, who was a god, watched the little parrot continue to fly back and forth, river, forest, making her way through the maze of flames. High above, he could see his own kind, those carefree gods still laughing and talking, as all the animals were doing at the bottom of the forest. And he watched, and slowly began to grow ashamed. "God though I am," he exclaimed, "how I wish I could be just like this little parrot, flying on, brave and alone, risking it all. What a rare and marvelous thing. What a wonderful little bird." Moved by these feelings, the great eagle began to weep. Stream after stream after stream of sparkling tears began to pour from his eyes. Wave upon wave upon wave they fell, washing down like a torrential rainfall upon the fire, including the forest, including the parrot herself. And as the cooling tears fell, the sparks that had reached almost to the sky itself began to die down and shrink. Smoke still curled from the scorched earth, yet new life was already boldly pushing forth shoots and stems, blossoms and leaves. Green grass sprang up from what was still glowing cinders. Where the eagle's teardrops had fallen on the parrot's wings, new feathers began to grow, red and green and yellow, too many colors to behold. The animals looked around in amazement. They were whole and well, and their home, although changed, was still there. "Hooray for the eagle," they shouted. The eagle stopped and said, "Not hooray for me, my friends. Hooray for the brave little parrot who caused the sudden miraculous rain." The end. Now, I told you there was a mini challenge. Anyone want to guess why I chose that story? Going once, going twice. What do you think? When someone's in danger or trouble, you should always try to help. Spot on, my friend. That is a reason I chose that story. Anyone else have an idea? What do you think, Jonah? Yeah, the parrot was doing a thing that they didn't have to do, but if they did it, they knew it might help. So your hand, Liam.
Well, it's not a guess, it's a question. How was the parrot flying if it was wet?
How was the parrot flying if it was wet? This is what we come to church for, to ask the hard question. I don't know, we'll talk about it in a minute. Oh, my friends, you are spot on to some of the reasons that I chose this story. Elise, what do you think?
Sometimes if we see someone else taking action, it inspires us to join them.
Yeah. If we see someone else taking action, it inspires us to join them and see what we can do.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah. All spot on answers. And there's one more I want to share with you. Oftentimes, when I tell a wisdom tale, it's one that has been around for generations, sometimes longer than people can remember. And I often go in and change it and tweak it just a bit. I tend to change and either make the characters in the story gender neutral, or I diversify the genders in the story. Because one of the things I love about stories is that we can find ourselves in them. Because more often than not, our wisdom tales are written with the characters and the heroes and the moral inspiration as men. The only thing I changed about this story was the way it began. We added the once upon a time. What I love about this story is that it is ancient, and it was written with the parrot as a female character. So, taking all the things we heard from you, and that little nugget of truth, here is your challenge for the rest of the day and the days to come. Where are the possibilities that you can find in your lives that center not the norm, not the patriarchy? And how are you leaning into them? And where do they show up in a way that helps others? With that in mind, I invite you to rise in body or spirit in whatever way makes sense for you, and join us in our next hymn, 1020, Wayaya.
When Good morning. I am Nancy Lawrence and a member of the care team here at First Parish. At this time in the service, we express to our whole group our joys and our concerns. We do this because our joys become greater, and with our concerns, we are held by the whole group, and it makes our concerns lighter. So I invite you to come to the front, and Plum is having a candle for you to light your candle, and then come to the microphone and share your concern or joy with.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. And
Sorry.
we're going to light a
If there's anyone here who would like to, after the service, add a care or a concern, you may come by and Plum and I will join you while you light your candle and have it with the others, and we will hold it for you.
Or talk to us at coffee hour.
Okay.
Put this on the stage.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now is the time of our time of prayer and meditation. Settle yourself in a way that allows you to pay attention to your body, your mind, and your spirit. Close your eyes or focus on one spot in the room. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, let your body relax. Notice your feet. Let them relax as you breathe out. Notice your legs. Let them relax as you breathe out. Notice your stomach and the way it moves with each breath. Notice your arms and your neck and your shoulders. Let them relax as you breathe out. To be open to possibilities, we must be willing to let go. Think back to a time when you felt that you had to hold on to something. Maybe it was a thing or an idea, a hope, or an expectation. What feelings made it hard to let go? Now, turn your hands upward, open your palms, and imagine the thing that you are holding on to going free. Notice the space that opens up. That is where possibilities start. Take one last deep breath and open your eyes. We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community. In acknowledgement of our many blessings, this morning's offering will now be greatly received. If this is your first or second time visit, please feel comfortable in letting the plate pass you by and consider an offering when the time is right for you. A link is also available in the chat window for those on Zoom. Thank you for your generosity. May the ushers come forward.
Good morning. My name is Gary Madison. I am a short, bald, bearded, 70-something white male wearing a magenta and black shirt. If you look toward the back of the sanctuary, on the right side is viewed from the chancel, you will find a portrait of Mr. Samuel Ripley, who was minister here at First Parish for many years in the early to mid-19th century. On a small plaque just below this portrait are some notes crediting Mr. Ripley with founding a boarding school during his term as minister. What you will not find is any mention of his wife, Sarah. This is despite the fact that she was not only a co-founder of the school, but a self-taught scholar under whose masterly direction the school achieved a stellar reputation. Her life was portrayed in the biography, The Remarkable Mrs. Ripley, by author Joan Goodwin. In the early 1800s, very few women had the opportunity to obtain a college education. However, young Sarah Bradford at this point, was determined to educate herself. Fortunately, she had a highly supportive father who encouraged her. When she asked him if she could study Latin, his reply was, "You may study anything you please." She took him at his word. In her mid-teens, she had mastered 6 languages, including Greek and Latin, mathematics, including geometry, trigonometry, and calculus, and enough science to fully comprehend Newton's Naturalis Principia in the original Latin. She then delved into history, theology, and botany while keeping abreast of current developments in all of these fields. When her brothers went off to all-male Harvard, she obtained a college education by reading everything they brought home with them, often enough to help them with their studies. As her interests branched out, she began reading the New German Biblical Criticism and trading thoughts on theology with the brilliant but opinionated Mary Moody Emerson, aunt of Ralph Waldo. This entailed frequent visits to the Emerson residence, where she met Samuel Ripley, a relative of the Emersons, who asked Sarah for her hand in marriage. With Sarah's father's urging, at 25 she was an old maid by 19th century standards, she accepted. They were married in 1818, and so Sarah became Sarah Ripley, with First Parish within easy walking distance from their Pleasant Street home. That's right across the street from where Dan and Joan now live. While there were complaints about the minister's wife being a learned woman, Minister Ripley was preoccupied with far more pressing issues, like raging church schisms and frequent calls for his dismissal. Ultimately, he would survive to serve First Parish, often in different roles, for another 21 years. Yet, while expecting her first child, while Samuel worked to settle church feuds, Sarah continued her scholarly pursuits. The boarding school was initially only expected to bring in a few dollars, but with Sarah at the helm, word began to spread, and Harvard students began coming to Waltham to attend her lectures. One student, Henry Durant, was so impressed and inspired by Sarah's brilliance and teaching skills that after graduation, he turned down a host of lucrative job offers and instead founded a women's college. You may have heard of it. It's known as Wellesley. It didn't seem to matter to anyone that Sarah was often rocking a cradle and shelling peas while lecturing. She continued to exchange ideas with Mary Moody Emerson, abolitionist Theodore Parker, Unitarian minister William Ellery Channing, political activist Henry David Thoreau, and other prominent intellectuals, as well as Ralph Waldo Emerson, who became a lifelong friend. As Sarah got older, she still took every opportunity to learn something new. At 70, she taught herself Spanish to be able to read Cervantes' Don Quixote, and Sanskrit to be able to understand Hindu thought and religious practices. She always hoped learning more would help her understand more. Sarah Ripley is now considered one of the most brilliant and learned figures of the 19th century. In her own day, Harvard President Edward Everett said she could have filled any faculty chair at the college had women been permitted such positions. One would think First Parish would be proud to consider one of our own. So where have we come in the last 180 years? The only picture of Ripley hanging in the sanctuary is of Sarah's husband. Surely there must be other possibilities.
In 2017, a book on climate change made it to the New York Times bestseller list. It was called Project Drawdown. It included a list of the top 100 solutions to reverse global warming. Their website now has a more nuanced approach to this, but I'm going to use the list to make a point. The list went like this. Number 1, high-tech refrigeration. 2, onshore wind power. 3, reducing food waste. 4, plant-rich diets. 5, tropical forest protection. 6, educating girls. 7, family planning. Educating girls and family planning are ranked 6th and 7th in the solutions, but combined, they are the #1 most effective solution for reducing global warming. In a world facing cataclysmic change, educating women is not just nice, it's critical. This church has a special relationship with educating women through an organization called Acacia in Kenya. Newcomers may not have heard of it, so it seemed like an opportune moment for us to get an update. Acacia in Kenya was founded in 2005 by Joyce Moore and Sammy Lutomia. Joyce Moore was a member of this church at the time. As part of a trip that she made to Kenya, she became connected with the St. Elizabeth's Luenko Girls High School. She felt called to support the school and started the nonprofit organization with the support of First Parish. Several of our members, including Pam Penton, have been there, and Pam has agreed to give us some insight into the ways that the school opens up possibilities for young women who attend.
Good morning. My name's Pam Penton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a mid-60s white woman with curly reddish hair. I'm the membership commissioner. I'm also the chairperson for Acacia in Kenya. Sam's dad, Francis Lutomia, was a feminist. He had 9 children, 5 of them girls. They lived in a very rural town in western Kenya. There were no school opportunities for girls older than 14. He was a retired principal. He knew how important education was for all, especially young women. In a country where girls are still married off as young as 10 to 12 to men who have 3 or 4 wives, he wanted better for his daughters and their community. He had broken the cycle himself by only having 1 wife and sent his daughters to high school out of the area and some to college, and celebrated the worth of women in the community. He knew the research on how unhealthy it was to have a child at 14. Most of these young girls are married into a life of poverty, having children solely to have more hands to help with the family farms. Frances knew that becoming a mother at 18 versus 14 vastly improves the health of the mother, but also the health of the children she raises. If the mother has graduated high school, she also values education for her children. Obtaining more education decreases the poverty in the home and the surrounding community. These are all things we know. Frances put it to work. As Scott said, in 2005, the school began. There were 15 girls sitting under trees, reading used books. The vision of Frances and Joyce and Sam and Acacia in Kenya led to purchasing land, constructing buildings, hiring teachers, a cooking staff, building dorms, and hiring a health worker. There are now over 400 girls. I learned in the early years that when girls had their period, they would miss a week of school every month. Not so positive. We learned how to make reusable sanitary napkins. 4th and 5th graders in my daughter's after-school program cut out material patterns that they were doing in the after-school projects and sent them off to a sewing group in Framingham. When we perfected the product, we sent the information to Mumias, Kenya, where the school was, where they could make their own. When we found that girls were getting attacked while they walked to school, we built 2 dorms. Now 200 of them can stay and not have to walk. The cooks educated the girls about sanitary routines like hand washing, food preparation, and other healthy important points. The health workers opened up conversations about menstrual health and the importance of preventing childbearing until after the age of 18. Our family sponsored a young girl named Miriam for many years. She graduated from St. Elizabeth's and then went to university to study agriculture. After graduating, she returned to the Mumias area and began to work with other women to share the farming knowledge she had gained at university. This has created a community success with knowledge from the education of one young girl. For more than 20 years now, Acacia Kenya has been supporting individual girls and their school environment. 10 years ago, the Kenyan government granted the school certification, which now provides financial support for teachers and administrators to be there. This is a really good thing. But there's still families in the area that can't afford school fees for their girls. So this now is Acacia Kenya's focus on our fundraising, to offer girls the ability to go to school if they want. My challenge to us at First Parish is to look at how we could continue to help. It costs $2,200 for 3 years of high school. The new school year begins in January. I think we can raise the money to send a young Kenyan girl to school. I will donate the first $100. What can you do to change the life of one girl in that community? Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. "19th century America put a lot of limits on women. Sarah Bradley's brilliance, however, did not go to waste. It was clearly appreciated by her many students, and hopefully by anyone who's attending Wellesley College. One lucky break that Sarah had was a father, who today we might call a feminist. In 2010, Susan Madison of Utah Valley University interviewed women leaders from around the world. She said every single one of them talked about finding their voices and their confidence at the dinner table conversations with their families. Their parents talked about politics, about what was happening in the community, and when women had something to say, their parents didn't touch them. Madison said, in the UAE, where men and women are often separated, women that Madison interviewed pointed to the role of their fathers in encouraging them to speak up. Every woman I spoke to said her father would bring home books for her to read when he traveled, which most other people didn't have. For all of these women, there were people in their life presenting an example of what is possible, a possibility that I'm sure was outside of many of the messages they were receiving from the society around them. So why doesn't every woman grow up with this? And what can we do about it? I could rant about the capitalist patriarchy, the system that funnels wealth away from billions of women towards the wealthy countries, and in particular towards a very small number of very wealthy men. I could go on a rant about all the inequities that women face: unequal pay, limits on leadership, unequal representation in government. And I surely could go on a rant about the violence that women face. But given that our theme is possibilities, and that you would all probably like to be home before dinner, I'm going to focus on things that we can do right here. All of this comes down to sexism. There are many definitions of sexism, but the one that I find most useful is one that I learned from a men's leader named Charlie Kreiner. He said, "Sexism is the lie that it's better to be male." Note that this lie doesn't say women are lesser. It's more insidious than that. Better to be male can be used to oppress any identity that doesn't fit the culturally defined expectations of male. This is the lie behind the oppression of LGBTQ+ people, and it is used to oppress men. It sets clearly defined boundaries on what it is to be male and female, and then punishes those who act outside of it. The most common punishment is the threat of isolation, but sometimes it can literally be death. This has a profound effect on all of us. It makes it hard for all of us to fully be ourselves. As we saw with Sarah Ripley, women have always been finding ways to work around the limits of sexism. But if we want a world of possibilities, then we really need to dismantle that lie. We can start with making sure that the painting and the plaque in the back give a fuller picture of history. There's another step that we can do before we walk out the door, and this is to look inside ourselves. According to Britannica, feminism is the belief in social, economical, and political equity of the sexes, equality of the sexes. In other words, a feminist is anyone who fights against sexism. I knew another man who led workshops for men in standing up against sexism, and he would wear a shirt that said, "This is what a feminist looks like." I thought about getting a t-shirt like that for today. But then Marty, during our worship committee meetings, mentioned that she had a pin that said, "This is what a feminist looks like." So I saw a little inspiration in that. I spoke with April. We hatched a plan to have the youth make buttons that said, "This is what a feminist looks like." Unfortunately, April, who owns a pin-making machine, had been storing it at Wellesley Church, and somebody borrowed it without asking. So we do not have the pins for you today that I hoped we would. What's that? Dan Taylor? Oh, okay. Good to know. We won't have to wait long then, hopefully. Now, I know some of you are thinking, buttons. Really, Scott? Is that what's going to change the world? But I see the buttons more about changing ourselves. It might be easy to wear a button that says, "This is what a feminist looks like," on a bike ride to the beach. You might be really proud to wear it at a No Kings rally. But what about at the supermarket? Or your place of work? Or a family reunion? That feeling that comes up when I say family reunion, that's what we need to pay attention to. When I first looked online for buttons that said, "This is what a feminist looks like," I saw many examples. The black and white one looked fine. There was a green one. I thought, "Oh yeah, I might like that one." Then I saw the bright pink one, and this little fear entered my chest. It said, "Oh, do I have to wear the pink one?" Right? That's my growing edge. That's where I'm noticing the limits. So it turns out that pink has been considered a girl's color only since the 1940s, when there was marketing campaigns. You go back before that, pink was a shade of red. It was considered a male's color, right? You go back 200 years, there's paintings of aristocracy with pink outfits on, right? So this is all a construct. This is what we get to do, is to tear down that construct, because that construct, that's the glue that holds sexism in place. And the people that benefit from sexism are happy to let us have those feelings and let those feelings keep you and me in line. Those fears are what stand between the world that we want to have, and the world that we have now, and the world that we want. So find a way to challenge those fears. Find ways to laugh about them. Find people to join with you in speaking out, and then move towards a world of ever more possibilities. Our final hymn today is called "One More Step." It is number 168 in your gray hymnal. Please join in whichever way feels good to you.
One more step, till there is peace for all.
We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. Amen, and blessed be.
Must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's help did slowly go by. Apex, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry. So just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you of tender years and know the peace that you elders grew by, and so please help them with your youth before they can die. Teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the ones they fix, the ones you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry. So just look at them and sigh. Bringing us up to speed on something that should be so more. And for our tech people, we have Jacob now running camera for the first time. Well done. Thank you, John. Please join us for coffee.